Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be wrapping up all of the comics and graphic novels and manga that I have read in all of 2018 so far. I'll get started. So the first graphic novel that I read this year was Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, which is volume 1 of the Scott Pilgrim series. This is a book that Andrew actually picked out for my TBR when he chose my TBR in that video. But we ended up reading this one together, which was a lot of fun. So I would read one page of dialogue, then he would read the next page, then I would read the page after. So it was nice to read it together because Scott Pilgrim is one of the things that we both initially bonded over when we started dating because we both really loved the series. But for those who don't know, it follows a young man named Scott who is kind of all over the place. He doesn't really have any direction. He has the worst memory ever, and he is totally oblivious to 90% of the things that are going on around him. And he meets this girl, Ramona, and he immediately has a crush on her and wants to date her, and Ramona is kind of like a manic pixie dream girl, and the two of them end up starting to date, and it's a really, really cute story, and I really love it. And there's just so many fun, geeky, and nerdy references within this story. So it makes the comic even more exciting, and it's also cool because it's a comic, but a lot of it is inspired by video games and anime. This series just will always have a special place in my heart. This is actually the Evil X edition that I got at San Diego Comic-Con the year that I went. This series is a 5 out of 5 star read for me. Next, I read volume 1 of Ancient Magus Bride by Kori Yamazaki. I probably didn't say that correctly, but this is a series that I really love. Andrew and I have actually been watching the anime for this as well, and it's just so beautiful, and there are just such subtle hints at fantastical things that it's so beautiful. It's really like a slice of life fantasy story. It follows this girl named Chise who is at a very low point in her life, and she ends up being sold to this guy here, Elias, but it turns out that she is a slave eggie. She has the ability to see a lot of magical things, so she goes and she lives with him and she's learning about magic, and he's kind of helping her see the value in her life, and it's really cute. I only read the first volume. I need to read more of it. It's very faithful to the anime, which is why I haven't read past the first volume, but I do plan on doing so. But I'm trying not to say things that happen in later volumes. But this is definitely a series that I really love. I think it's so beautifully done, and this is also a 5 out of 5 star series for me. The next manga that I read is Orange Future by Ichigo Takano. This is the story that takes place, it follows these two bind-up volumes that I have up here, but this one is all told from Sua's point of view. I don't think that I enjoyed Future as much as I enjoyed the original Orange, but I did think that it was nice to see more for his character. So in this story, in the original story, there is a girl who gets a letter from her future self telling her all of these instructions of things that she needs to do in order to save this new student who had entered their class. It's a really emotional story. It's so good. I just got so invested in it. I love the characters. I think the author does an amazing job writing characters. There was this one character in it, Sua, who I constantly felt I really just felt for him throughout the other series, so I was really excited for him to kind of get his own time to shine, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as the original Orange, so I'd probably give this one 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read the first bind-up of Avatar graphic novels, so there's actually 3 graphic novels that are in here, and they all make up the story arc called The Promise. I really liked this one. I thought that it was a very good introduction into the comics once the series ended. I'm just so thankful that they're continuing the story in this medium because I feel like there was so much more that they could do with them, and the characters are just so deeply embedded into my heart that I immediately wanted to pick these up upon finishing the series. And Andrew was actually the one that got me to watch Avatar the series, and I'm so thankful about that because I seriously just loved it so much. There were so many moments where I just was laughing out loud, and so many things that I could just hear in the characters' voices in my head. I felt like it was very, very true to the characters, so I really loved it. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Search, which is the second story arc of Avatar comics, and everything that I said about the first one also holds true for the second volume, but this one I loved even more. I had been anticipating this one more than anything because this finally tells us what happened to Zuko's mom. It was so well done. I wish that I could have seen this in animated form too, because it was such a compelling story, and I've never waited so long for an answer for something and had such an amazing payoff. So it was just such a pleasure reading this one, and Zuko is one of my favorite characters, so I really loved getting like so much of him in this comic, and this one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Then the most recent comic that I read, which I'm going to talk about out of order, is The Rift, because it's also an Avatar comic. So again, all of the things that I said for the first 2 books also hold true for this 3rd book, but this one we didn't have any Zuko in it at all, but it just followed Toph. It really like captured her story, and this was also a really satisfying read, and also getting to like see more about her past, and it was so good. Toph is so funny, so this one like especially had me laughing out loud at certain points, but I really like seeing how the world is changing now that balance has been restored within the kingdom, and just the tiny, not tiny, but like the smaller issues that Aang is running into and having to solve. I just really enjoy it, and I will read anything that they write about these characters. And this one was also 5 out of 5 stars for me. Next, I read Dreamin Sun, volumes 1 to 7, and I'm so excited to be able to put these volumes back on my shelf. So this series is actually also by Ichigo Takano, who is the author of Orange, and this story follows a girl who runs away from home because she feels like she's not getting any attention. Her dad got remarried and had a new baby, and she just wants to like live on her own and be away from there because everything is about the baby. So she ends up moving into this apartment where 3 other guys live, and there's just so many shenanigans. It's a reverse harem manga, and it's so enjoyable, so funny. I really love all of the characters. I think each of them has a very dynamic personality and has a lot of depth. There's no one that's really like a filler character. Everyone serves like a very interesting purpose, and it's just so fun to like see the different things that they get into. I'll show you all of the covers too. So this is volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, volume 6, and I wasn't holding volume 7, but there's volume 7. This is the most recent one that came out, and I read it like the day that it came in the mail because I'm that invested in this story. The next one's not coming out until October, and it is killing me to wait for it because I like need to know how things are gonna go. One thing that I will say about the series is that it's really fun because there are a lot of different ships within it, and I myself have had one that has been like my OTP ship throughout the whole thing that just hasn't happened yet, but I'm really hoping that it will. But even still, I find myself rooting for some other people too. Like things have kind of changed where I'm like, this is what I want, but I also am liking this person. I just think that it's really cute and really well done, so I'm really excited to read more of these. And this is actually, the series is completed at 10 volumes, so I'm essentially just waiting for America to get it together and publish the rest so that I can find out how it's going to end. Then I read Obi-Wan and Anakin, and I actually read this on Comixology, so I don't have a physical copy here. I'm trying to read everything within Star Wars canon, and there are a lot of comics that are Star Wars canon now, so I've had to try to add some of those to my list, and I thought this one was okay. I didn't really love it. It follows Obi-Wan and Anakin right after Phantom Menace, but prior to the Clone Wars, so it was like nice to see a little bit of filler of what happened in between there, but it wasn't by any means my favorite Star Wars thing that I have read since I started like delving into the canon. Thought that it was okay, but like I said, didn't love it. I ended up giving this one like 2.5 stars. Then I read the life-changing manga of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo, and I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really like just funny because I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I loved that book, and I implemented a lot of the strategies within there to my cleaning regimen and like how I'm able to get rid of things. So I found that to be really enjoyable, and I wanted to read the manga version because the original book is nonfiction, and this one actually takes the elements from there but makes it into a fiction story. So it follows a girl in her like 20s who is kind of a mess and is trying to get everything in her life together and organized. Her love life is a mess, and it just shows her like going from this disaster of a person into somebody who was like organized and has things together. And it's really cute. There were a couple of things in here that really like spoke to me personally, and I really enjoyed it. It was very fluffy, but fun if you'd read the other book, and I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Aquicorn Cove by Katie O'Neill, and she's also the author of the Tea Dragon Society. This book actually comes out in October, so I have an ARC copy of it, but I loved it to pieces. It is so beautiful. The artwork is incredible, and everything is just like a pastel, like dream world that I want to live in. It's so beautiful. It follows this girl who goes back with her dad to the place where her aunt lives and where her mother grew up, but she had lost her mother a while ago. While she's there, she meets this cute little Aquicorn, and she finds out all about this past that she didn't know about, and like the relationship between the sea and this town that is very dependent upon the sea. And there is a female-female romance within it. It's really cute, and it's just like, it just made me so happy. I loved it so much, and I can't wait to read the Tea Dragon Society because I have not yet done that, but I just loved this one to pieces, as I keep saying. So this one was an easy 5 out of 5 star read for me. Then I read Tokyo Tarareba Girls Volume 1 by Akiko Higashimura. This is the new series by the author of Princess Jellyfish, and I love the Princess Jellyfish anime. It's so good, and I also really enjoyed reading the Princess Jellyfish manga. I am not up to date with it. I think I read 4 of the volumes so far, but there's like a lot more of them, so I need to keep reading. But this is her new series, so I immediately wanted to check it out just because I love her other stuff. And it follows these 3 women who are in their 30s, and they kind of always lived life on the sidelines, and they watch other people do things. They haven't really had love lives or anything like that. The one main girl is maybe starting to like take chances in certain situations, but the 3 of them are actually like super negative. They get together and drink like every night and just complain about people and complain about things that they're not involved in. Initially, I wasn't really like loving it. I read the whole volume, and it wasn't until like the last page that I was like, okay, now I want to read the next volume. I thought it was like okay, but like I said, I wasn't loving it. So I'm mostly just giving this more of a chance because of the new development at the end of the first volume, and then also because I love Princess Jellyfish so much. So I'm really hoping that this will kind of pick up and change. But I just didn't like how much importance they put upon finding a husband. Like it seemed like finding a husband was like, this is how you have a happy life, and like the only way to like be happy, which is just not the case. So that was a little bit tough to read. But again, I am going to continue, and then depending on how I feel about the second volume, I'll see if I'm going to go further than that. But I'm giving it one more shot. And I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Snotgirl Volume 2 by Brian Lee O'Malley. This series I really love. I think it is so funny. It's just like so satirical, and just the commentary on internet culture and fashion bloggers and people that are just obsessed with the internet. I just find it hilarious, and it's just so entertaining to me. Like there are so many things in it that I feel like are so relatable, and then a lot of things that are not, thankfully, but it's just so humorous. And also I just love Leslie Huang's art. I think it is absolutely gorgeous, and their colorist is like a genius. But it follows this girl named Lodi who is a fashion blogger, but she suffers from allergies, so she is called Snot Girl by her friends, because they're not even like really the best of friends. They're kind of like fake, like we're friends because we're internet people kind of friendships. And I just think it's so funny, and I really enjoy it, and I can't wait for the next one. And this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't like the second volume as much as I liked the first volume, but I still enjoyed it like a lot more than other things that I've read. Then I read Odoman Volume 1. Well, I've only read the first one so far. I need to read the rest of them. I picked up the rest of them after this first volume because I enjoyed it that much. But it's so funny. It follows a guy who looks like a jock, but he really likes girly things like sewing and baking and cooking, and he loves shoujo manga and stuff, but he like hides this side of himself from everybody because he doesn't want them to think that he is into girly things. He ends up getting a crush on this girl, and the girl only likes very macho guys. Then he's like especially trying to hide his true self from her because he wants to like go on a date with her. And then there's this other guy that is constantly hanging out with them and kind of stirring up different situations, and you find out why later on in the book, and it's just so good. I can't wait to see how this is all going to play out, and I love it so much. And I gave Odoman 5 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I have to talk about is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, and this I really enjoyed. I'm pretty sure that Jen Wang also did the art for In Real Life by Cory Doctorow, and I really liked that graphic novel and that art. So that's why I'm like thinking that it's the same thing. But this takes place in Paris, and the fashion is just so amazing, and it follows this prince who loves wearing dresses, and this girl, Frances, who's the dressmaker, and she makes these like amazingly beautiful designs, and she ends up making one that is like particularly show-stopping, and the prince sees it and he calls her to the castle and he gives her this job to be his personal dressmaker. But obviously it is a secret because he's the prince, he could be king at any time, and nobody knows that he likes to wear dresses. So while Frances is like creating all these beautiful things for him, she's struggling to get her name out there because it's a secret that she's designing for him. And then he also is trying to go out and he takes on this other like personality when he wears all these beautiful designs, but he doesn't want anyone to know that he's the prince, and his parents are putting a lot of pressure on him to find a woman to marry so that she can be the future queen. And it's just so cute, and I love the artwork so much. I thought it was such a heartwarming story. Like, it just made me so happy, and I read this probably in like an hour. It's a super quick read. I'm just gonna like flip through and just show you like how gorgeous some of this art is. I just love it. It's so like so French and so pretty, and this was definitely 5 out of 5 stars. You know what? Actually, I also read the Darth Maul comic, but I forgot to write it down. That I also read on Comixology, and that one I enjoyed more than the Obi-Wan comic. And this one followed Darth Maul actually prior to Phantom Menace, so it's like the first official thing in Star Wars canon currently. And it was really interesting, and I really liked that there was a cameo in it from Cad Bane, who is a character on Clone Wars. I just thought it was interesting to get more of Darth Maul because he again is one of those characters that seemed like they were gonna have such a big role within the show and then was just like gone pretty much. But so it was fun to like read more about his history, and it was basically the story of him like going after his first Jedi ever, and I liked it. Didn't love it, and I ended up giving that one 3.5 stars. And now that's actually it. And also, I am definitely open to recommendations if you guys have anything that you think that I should read. And that's all that I have for this video, so I will see you guys soon in a new one.